Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 5 of the ISR AIC Season 3 Championship. We are now officially over the halfway mark of this amazing season. We've had some controversy, we've had thrills, we've had spills, we've had it all. Coming off the back of the last race, we had an interesting race out at Taruma, where GTFG started off with 1-2, only ended up with one car on the podium of Stephen Paul. He will be the reigning race victor, hoping to have a good race this weekend, but we're going into the beautiful circuit of Alabama and bringing up our resident resident commentator from Alabama to take you a little bit more. I'm joined once again by the lovely Zach Sweater.
Thank you, Toby. It is great to be here at my home state, home track of Barber Motorsports Park, just outside of Birmingham, Alabama, located in very interesting circuit. Of course, this is home for the IndyCar Honda Grand Prix of Alabama that happens every year here. I've been fortunate enough to attend 3 of those races, and just in real life, Toby, this track is just a beautiful place. They call this the Augusta National of racing because it's just such a beautiful track, and it's a very technical circuit as well. It's a lot of twists and turns. It sort of reminds me of Donington in a sense, because there is a few elevation changes, kind of like Donington. And of course, you've got that little chicane section that you have to go through here. So it's going to be a very interesting race nonetheless to try and be able to see what these drivers can do for their technicality. So it's going to be very fun to watch these guys tackle these Formula cars around here.
Yeah, of course, we don't have any penalties or anything like that. We have nothing to consider. So qualifying will just be a story of who had the pace and who didn't. But it is obviously the home Grand Prix for a lot of our drivers this weekend. You know, the likes of yourself, Joshua Wood, Jonathan Carrera, Chester Jackson, Kevin Jacobs, Stephen Paul and Charles McBee. All of them guys having their home Grand Prix this weekend, so I hope that their home crowd can give them a little bit of an extra boost. But Barber Motorsports Park doesn't play any favourites, and if you want to be up the top, you're going to have to do a good job today. So we're going to get right in, and let's find out how qualifying went. As we take a look at the qualifying here in the Alabama State, it is another shock pole position in the form of Danny Diaz, finally bringing his EQU car to the front of the grid only by 0.03 of a second, but he managed to nail the setup and nail the lap at the right time when the track was at the highest grip and put his car on pole for the first time since Season 1. So a long time coming for Danny Diaz. Toby Byrne lines up second, 0.03 of a second off him. Nut Martinson, another driver, finally finding his form, will start in P3 in his Force Fizzy. He will start just half a tenth slower than the guys. Christopher Petterson, another man. It's the day of improvement here. Will start P4 ahead of Douglas Anderson. Evan Imre looking to continue on his Taruma podium form. Will start P6. Callum Spencer will have a little bit less work than he had to do in Taruma, lining up in P7. And P8 is Colin McAllister of Iron Brew Racing.
And in 9th place, Nico Foggy tied Colin McAllister, but because Colin set his time first, he starts 8th, and so that'll put Nico Foggy in 9th. And last week's winner, Stephen Paul, will round out our top 10, and behind him is his teammate. So a bit of a mirror situation with GTFG, with Stephen Paul kind of getting the reverse on his teammate Charles McBee, who will start 11th. 12th place has ISR Black Diamond teammate to Toby Byrne, Rhinus Mangalos in 12th position. Home state boy Zach Swader starts in 13th, where he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to do something with this. Gareth Lennon will behind him in 14th, Craig Evans 15th, and Jonathan Carrero 16th.
Lining up 17th is another homeboy of Chester Jackson, struggling a little bit to match the pace of his teammate up in P1. Joshua Wood will start in P18, showing that the WSR is really struggling in this middle part of the season, given their really recent early form. They've really slipped in the last few races. Taylor Lane will line up in 19th for ART Matman, and bringing up the rear of the grid is Kevin Jacobs, who is a whopping half a second off his teammate NORL. Well, I can imagine won't be best pleased with Kevin Jacobs' form lately. He's not had a very good time in AIC at all, but he's got a lot of work to do today, Zach, if he wants to do anything. But I'd say, surely we're over half season now. It could be crunch time for Kevin Jacobs. His results really need to start climbing.
And they have, and you know, it's something with Kevin Jacobs. You know, he came first Season 2 in the DTMs, and of course, you know, he's more famous for his famous crash with, I believe it was Evan Imre at Curitiba, where he came and was literally just no safe way to come back on the track and literally ruined up Evan Imre's race. So yeah, it's very, very interesting situation. Of course, you know, there is a lot of speculation. We're already halfway. There's probably going to be a lot of seat changes, you know, coming in next season. So we're just going to have to wait and see what NRL does with Kevin Jacobs. But you know, enough said about that, though, for the time being here. Our top drivers, Toby, it's finally time that we see Danny Diaz. You know, he struggled for the past couple seasons with EQU, and, you know, it's finally nice to see EQU back up at the front since they haven't been up in the front since, you know, Swader left after season 1. And, of course, Toby Byrne, he's getting that consistency going for the championship. He's been up front for the past 3 races qualifying. And, of course, you know, he's, you know, had some struggles with some lap cars, so hopefully that doesn't interfere this time another, and so we can be able to get the win this time around in Barber Motorsports Park. So very, very cool to see those top guys right there. So it's going to be very, very fun to watch and see what these guys can do at the start, and if Toby Byrne can get the jump on Danny Diaz.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. Byrne looking for his first win after Magny Core as well. Danny Diaz will be looking to really put Team EQU on the board and hopefully keep his seat, because it was speculated his seat was under a little bit of pressure. I think the EQU boys are struggling to figure out if they want to drop and who they want to drop. But Danny Diaz putting in a firm application to stay at his team for another season. We'll see what comes up, but Season 4 is on its way. But before that, we're going to get into Round 5 of Season 3. It's Barber Motorsports Park. Let's do it. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in Alabama. No time for nuisances, there's no track intro. We are getting ready to go racing straight away, and lights out and away we go. Then Danny Diaz gets an amazing start over Toby Byrne and will lead into turn 1. You can see Christopher Pettersson, equally good start, looking to challenge for third on Nut Martinson. Straight away up the inside, forces the job. What a move from Callum Spencer. He's already made up a couple of places, up into P4 straight away. The Force Fizzies now go side by side. Nut Martinson under a little bit of pressure, loses a position to Evan Imre. Now Colin McAllister will look to go all the way around the outside, and looks like Colin's going to get forced out himself, have a little bit of issues to deal with. And as they come for the next section of corners, we have a car going a little bit slowly. We're going to try and get a view on who that is, but all in all, Zach, pretty clean start. But what a start from Callum Spencer. He goes from 7th to 4th in a corner.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was Chester Jackson. You saw he was still on the onboard. He was a little bit slow. I don't know who that was. W might have been the machine. First, I thought it was Wood from one of that camera angles, but we'll have to see through the replay, I guess. But what a start from Danny Diaz. What a start from Colin Spencer, like you said, Toby, as we're going through the final quarters here at Barber Motorsports Park on the first lap. Toby Byrne behind Danny Diaz. It was a lightning start from Diaz. He just got a mega start, and that was something that he really needs, because as we saw in pre-race, his seat is under pressure right now. But everyone right now seems to be minding their P's and Q's now, trying to size up everyone else here as we go through the Alabama roller coaster, turn number 1 into the hairpin of turn number 2. Got to keep it a little bit on the outside, and hopefully the car will stick, as we have a lot of the downforce. I think you want a lot of downforce for this track, Toby. You know, we kind of talked about all the setups and changes and stuff that these teams will probably make through the season. I think you want to kind of hide downforce, because this is really corner center track, and you know, you really got to watch out as we take a look at Martinson right behind Colin Spencer. They actually had 3 wide while you were talking, Toby. That was an interesting move, so especially with the 2 ARR cars right there, the Force Vizzy machines. They were side by side, but it looks like, you know, Martinson actually, I think, got the better run of that. But on all, it's a good start for a good clean start for the top runners right now.
Yeah, everyone's got through cleanly. The most key thing, nobody has gone around with any damage, so we haven't lost anyone early from this race. Like, we lost 2 people by now into Ruma already, with a further few having to make some pit stops. So it's currently Danny Diaz leading from Toby Byrne, from Christopher Pettersson. Christopher Pettersson looking for his 2nd podium this season. Of course, he was elevated to the podium in Hungary, with Colin McAllister's podium being taken away from him for the infringement on the safety car. So looking for a 2nd podium. Christopher Pettersson really is trying to put out an applicant to any of the main teams that are challenging for the championship this season. Christopher Pettersson looks like he's starting to find his Season 1 form, and even in Season 2, it's pretty good. But here's a replay to start with the man, Christopher Pettersson, Zach. As we were talking about, he got a really good start, and just looks like he jumps Martinson, and then he comes back down the inside, and then has the inside for the next corner, and is just able to squeeze him out just a little bit and get a job done for Christopher Pettersson. But I think we're going to see the start we really wanted to see. Here you go, Callum Spencer. You can see the 5 red lights up in your top left. Look at the start then. So no loss of traction at all. Gets a really good start. Everyone's doing all the battling in front of him. That's what he wants to see. Looks to the inside. Someone's there, but manages to get away with it, and then just sends it like Daniel Ricciardo up the inside. Hurts the rear wheel grip. Does let go a little bit, but gets away with it. And that's 7th to 4th. That is a how-to guide for dummies by Callum J. Spencer.
Let's take a look at his teammate right here, Jonathan Carrero. I believe this is through the Alabama roller coaster and hits one of the aisle base cars. I can't tell who that was, but on the inside, it looks like Joshua Wood on this inside, and all the way down into the second straightaway here, still side by side. There's Kevin Jacobs, and here we go into Charlotte's Web, and let's see here. There's side like 3 wide up ahead of him, so this is interesting. And so that was okay. So I was both right on both occasions. It looked like Joshua Wood got caught up with something. And that, of course, had Chester Jackson had to check up. So that was actually correct on both ends. It was both a WSR and an EQU machine slower than what we've seen. But no, it could have been worse considering the fact that a lot of the first corner incidents that we've had throughout the season. So that could have been a lot worse. So very lucky that everyone managed to stay unscathed through the most part. But back live now here, Danny Diaz kind of getting a little bit of a gap on Toby Byrne here. But I think that's just because I think Toby wants to hang back just a little bit and save his tires. Because I think he knows that Danny Diaz is going to be trying to drive the absolute heck out of his car because he's under pressure from his team. He wants a good finish here. And because he's not as a seasoned veteran as Toby Byrne is, through all the championships and all the accomplishments that Toby Byrne has done, you know, he's got the know-how to be able to stay behind someone and pressure them. But he's got to make sure he doesn't get pressured by that Christopher Pedersen right behind him, Toby. It's going to be very interesting to see if the hunter becomes the huntee. As we take a look now, Douglas Anderson looking to try to get the slipstream here. You know, it's just not going to be working for this short straightaway here. We're going way, by the time they get onto the front straightaway out here at Barber Motorsports Park, they are completely going into turn 1. So that just shows you how long the front straightaway is. Not very long. It's just not enough to get the slipstream. So if you want to make someone make a pass going on the front straightaway, you really got to do it and get a good run off the last corner here. So on burn now with Mr. Anderson here. So very, very interesting to see what these guys can do to make up for the lack of top speed around here, Toby.
It's very interesting, riding on board with Douglas Anderson. Almost an airplane crash as he goes in a bit too deep. Now he's going to come under a little bit of pressure from the ISR Black Diamond and Ryan Melnganis, looking to have a move at the inside. Not enough room. Douglas squeezes him with all his might. That could have been an airplane crash. Spectacular driving from both of these drivers to not crash. Still Ryan Melnganis pressuring, looking for a weakness in the armour of Douglas Anderson. But Douglas survives for another run, Zach. That's great defending by Douglas, but that could have been an airplane crash in the back of that Northern Lights racing car. Ryan is just unable to go anywhere with it. And as we come across the line, we can see Nico Foggy sets the fastest lap of the race. Just looking, and do you see that on the left, Zach? Do we have a change for the lead going on the top left? I believe we've had a change for the lead. I think our cameraman's going to try catch up with that, but that certainly looks like the EQU car in front of that NORL car to me, Zach. It looks like we might have had a change of the lead somewhere, but we're focusing right now on Callum J. Spencer because he's really putting the pressure for the podium position that he so desperately needs in this championship fight.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I hope we get a replay because I really want to see how Danny Diaz lost out the lead, but new lead change. This will be Toby Byrne in the ISR Black Diamond. He's on the championship run right now, and so this is exactly what he needs, and it looks like he is leaving Danny Diaz, you know, for chips at this point. So this is kind of what we talked about, you know, Danny Diaz being the less experienced driver, Toby Byrne being the more experienced. You know, he played it out, he saw the opportunity, and he took it. So I really hope we get to see a replay of what happened, because that is a very interesting when we were watching the Douglas Anderson incident. So we'll have to see what happened there.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a replay of that, but Toby Byrne sets the fastest lap of the race. Here you go, Zach, I'll let you have it.
All right, so Toby Byrne right here on the inside, and look at this, and Toby takes out one of the cones here. So really using all the track that he can, and I don't think it's enough for the stewards to look at it. I would be surprised if they do, because I think as long as he still has the 2 wheels, let's see what Christopher's done on this one. That's just an amazing move, regardless of whether it's fat, because I think Danny just left enough room for Toby just to slip by, and Christopher tries to make a move on him to go side by side, but Danny has the inside for this corner, and so he's just going to have to lay off and just let Danny take the position still. But what a move regardless. So Danny Diaz caught napping on almost 2 occasions, Toby, so he's really got to watch it now as he's, you know, under pressure enough as it is. So we'll see as we take a look right now. I believe this is Zach Slater by the Monster Energy helmets on the left side. Homestay boy, hometown track. You know, I think he could have asked for a little bit better instances, but nonetheless, he's out here having a good time here. He's behind his teammate though, Joshua Wood, and so we'll have to see if any team orders come to play, because Zach Slater is trying to do what he can for a championship running right here, as Joshua Wood has had a bit of a struggle this season at WSR. So we'll have to see if any team orders come to play to keep Slater's hopes alive, but nonetheless here we'll have to keep an eye out here. Just take a look, everybody trying to calm down here. But going back to that Douglas Anderson incident, I think Dougie just literally just couldn't get on the brakes fast enough. I'm not sure, you know, if the car ahead just had an incident, but it looked to me like Dougie just couldn't stop in time, Toby.
Yeah, it looks like all the drivers are struggling through there with lockups, because it certainly sounded like he just had a lockup. And it looks like the front right tyre is actually coming off the ground when they go through there. So it's very tricky to get these cars slowed down, as I'm sure you'll know that's the situation in real life as well. So our driver's going through that as well. But Danny Diaz trying to stay with Byrne, but Byrne's just edging ahead bit by bit, meter by meter. And the gap in qualifying was only 0.03 of a second, so these guys were actually quite matched on their hot pace time. But it could just be the case that Byrne has better race pace, or the ISR Black Diamond car is set up for the race more than it was qualifying. But Danny Diaz really trying to give it everything he's got. Obviously, he's not totally inexperienced. He was in the championship fight. Unfortunately, did crash out of it at Donington in Season 1, but he was in the championship fight. He's taken many podiums, you know. He helped rear gun for Zach in Canada Season 1 and secured that 1-2. So he's got the knowledge there, but it just looked like Byrne just got an amazing run out of this section we're going through right now, and was just able to throw it up the inside and take the lead. And Byrne will hope that he doesn't encounter a single lapped car for the rest of the race, or he'll have nightmares. But you can see Christopher doing a solid job in BP3 as well. Spencer, once again, a name we always mention over the course of 3 seasons. Consistency has been Callum Spencer's greatest weapon, I think, to keep himself in the fight for so many seasons, because he's always there. He's always there somewhere. Nut Martinson is another one, although he's down in 5th. It's a good points haul for a team that haven't got him a lot of points. And same with Danny Diaz. He may not, he might get the win. There's still 7 laps to go. But if he doesn't get the win, he's still bringing home a very important 18 points. Because EQU, of course, is still have only got 1 point in the championship, and that point is from Chester Jackson, Zach. And I think points at the end of the season will be something that EQU will look at when they're deciding if they're going to drop someone.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what the team do. I'm pretty sure we'll have more things for everyone following a couple more races, but as we get closer to the end of this season, we'll have a lot more points to discuss. But at the moment right now, yes, of course, EQU is a bit of, in a problem right now, because those points came last time, at Taruma, with Chester Jackson just edging out, getting enough luck throughout all the incidents that happened through the race to get that single point that EQU has only scored. So very lucky right now. And speaking of Chester Jackson, of course, he is in 19th position, getting caught up by the bit of an incident that happened in the first lap, just with a few checkups with, I believe it was Joshua Wood, I think. But nonetheless, though, bit of a difficult race out of his own hands, I think. So can't really put too much blame on here. But really, so far, everything's just starting to spread out just a little bit. Not a lot of action this week, but I think that's kind of what most of these drivers are expecting right now, especially if you're Colin Spencer. You don't want a lot of drama and a lot of craziness happen in front of you, because that can really mess up your championship hopes. And one guy that has had the problems this year, in this season, Toby, is of course Nut Martinson in 5th. He's finally back up to where we have been seeing him. Of course, he is our only champion on the grid, with Josh Martin taking a season sabbatical. And so this is a really good recovery from Nut Martinson, and this is something that can probably be able to boost him throughout the next few races and hopefully next season, Toby. So it should be interesting to see if he can be able to spring forward after this race.
Yeah, it's all experience. Going into next season, all these drivers who, like Josh Martin taking a sabbatical, he will come into next season without the knowledge of driving open wheel cars. Obviously, the last car he will have driven in this season will have been DTMs from season 2. So all these drivers will have more experience than Josh Martin. So we'll have to see how well he adapts in season 4. But although Barber hasn't really offered us the most exciting racing, it looks like it's a bit of a tricky track for us to overtake on in this particular series. I'm not sure if it's just the way the cars and the cars and stuff are, but it looks like we might be about to take a lap with Toby Byrne while nothing's happening, Zach. So I'll let the homeboy discuss his favourite track.
Well, we're down here on the middle straightaway here, and this is the chicane that we saw Dougie Anderson and Toby Byrne have their moments here. But we're going down the straightaway past the museum section, and obviously this little right-hander right here can really catch you right here. If you're not on the throttle, you know, early on though through there, you're not doing anything right, because you really got to stay on the throttle throughout that section, whether you need to let up, and it looks like you need to let up or not. And down the final few corners right here, you know, it's a very technical. See all these bumps and elevation changes, all these crazy elevation changes that you have with this track. This is what can really upset the car if you don't place it properly. And then down the front straightaway right here, and like I said before, as soon as you're on it, you're back in the first corner of the Alabama Hair roller coaster, and then you go all the way back around into the second straightaway into Charlotte's Web, which is turn 5, the double left-hander. And the reason why it's called Charlotte's Web is because, I don't know if you noticed, Toby, those little, right there on the right side, those little spider statues, little artwork right here. Barber Motorsports is one of the most articular tracks that you have. There's a lot of artwork and amazing things. And people that have been to the Indy race will know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't been to a race here, please check it out, guys. This is just a really beautiful race here. But looking back right here, it looks like Christopher Pedersen might be catching up on Danny Diaz. So I'm kind of wondering, though, if he's got a little bit of pace to make the move in the final few laps here. He's only got a little bit left to work, but he's got plenty of overtaking opportunities. If he can get a run on a corner, you know, with little straight and more corners this track has, he might be able to have enough time, I think, if he can just get a good run as what he needs to be able to get into second place here. He's already in a podium spot, and this is a good drive for both of these guys, but, you know, Christopher Pedersen, you know, there's always the want for more, as we're having a little bit of a stutter here. That's just some technical issues that we're having, but nonetheless, here we'll have to commentate as best we can here, but it kind of seems to smooth out just a little bit here going into the first corner. But yeah, there's always the one for more, and Christopher Pedersen wants more, but you know, you got to do what you can here.
Yeah, a little bit of a rendering fault there, I think. That's very interesting, because I remember recording this race and nothing of the sort happening. So we can mosey on past that as well with every sport. It's the beautiful thing. It's a real thing. It's live. You never know what's going to happen, but just the feed chopping up a little bit. I'm sure we can commentate around it. But Christopher Pedersen is catching Danny Diaz, but I'm not sure he's catching him enough. I mean, Christopher Pedersen is the most successful NORL driver of all time. That's now undisputed with 4 world titles to his name. So congratulations, Chris, for being the most successful NORL driver. So heaps of experience from this absolute machine of a driver who is chasing down Danny Diaz right now. There's not many more scary people to have chasing you down in a race, I can tell you from experience. But he is a very quick driver, but struggled a little bit. We could say it's the NORL car, but I'm not sure. NORL obviously have the tradition of having NORL like competing drivers in their lineup. Of course, Chris doesn't anymore, so could be looking for a new home this time next season. We're not sure, but Christopher really going to try and take down Danny Diaz. He's got a lap and about a half to do it. And he's got to be careful where he makes his move, because if he gets it wrong, he'll be under pressure from Callum Spencer. Callum Spencer, of course, one of the most successful drivers in the ISR franchise. So 2 very decorated drivers within very close proximity. And it's actually really cool looking at it like this, because you have 3rd, the most successful NORL driver in history. Then you have 4th, one of the most successful ISR drivers in history. And then behind him, one of the most experienced AOR drivers in history. So there is a lot of experience coming up behind Danny Diaz. And although he lost the lead to Byrne, he was caught napping, wasn't expecting Byrne to send it. And I think Byrne just wants to win that pad. He was prepared to write his car off if necessary. But he was caught napping, but he's done well to hold on to 2nd. I think he realizes, okay, I've lost that, but I can't lose anymore.
Yeah, he's really got a lot of stuff, but it is interesting to see all the experience, all the titles behind Danny Diaz, and so hopefully he can learn throughout this. We'll just take a look at the final lap here. Hopefully he can take a lot of experience from this if he does find a home next season, if he is dropped, you know, from EQU, but nonetheless here, very, very opportunity for him to learn a lot of stuff. And there's always the learning curve, you know, whether you're a new driver, old veteran, there's still ways and many ways to learn how to drive a car, because there could be a new track, there could be a new regulation change, there's just all the experience. But coming into the final lap, here's a guy we haven't talked about all race long, because it's kind of been, you know, a one-course situation here. Colin McAllister, he's been under a lot of, as you say, controversy with all of the blue flags and the radio messages, but luckily enough, he's only in 7th place, so this will be some fantastic points for the Iron Brew boys. So fantastic job for him. And then finally here, going in for his championship here, and this will help him really good. Toby Byrne, of course, will take the win today after that one amazing move. I think will probably be the move of the race, I think, just through that one chicane and just shifted down the inside of Danny Diaz. So amazing job by Toby Byrne, and hopefully this will actually make up a spark, and this could really spice up the championship standings as we go through, as we're halfway into the season, Toby.
We're now officially over halfway, yeah. So round 5 results, Toby Byrne couldn't do the job in Magny Core through no fault of his own, but takes the win finally. Can you believe it's his first ever win in the ISR AIC? Danny Diaz will take another podium to his name, and so will Chris, boosting NORL's morale. Callum Spencer 4th and 5th, and Nut Martinson will get them off to a good start. Stephen Paul comes from 10th to finish 6th. Good day in the office for the GTFG driver. Evan in race 7th. Colin finishes P8 in the end, and Nickel Foggy 9th. We saw the top 10, and then there is a bottom. Kevin Jacobs did go from last to 14th, so it was a good day, but still not in the points, and unfortunately, both WSRs failing to score will really hurt them in the team's championship. But here's the drivers' standings of Byrne leading by 12 points. Gareth Lennon finally dethroned from the top with another non-point scoring today, and Spencer moves up into 3rd, Paul up into 4th, so despite not winning again, he does move up a position as Zach Swidder fails to score, drops 3 positions. Chris launches himself a bit into the title fight as well, and Danny Diaz making a whopping 9 places up the field, Zach.
Yeah, 18 points will go a long way for Danny Diaz, and of course be taking a look into that. But yeah, Danny Diaz being the only highest of our American, a bit of a struggle. Of course, Stephen Paul did have that nice recovery from 10th to where he finished, so a good day for him. But yeah, it's funny how the American drivers kind of struggled today at their home track. But looking at the team standings right here, ISR TBD will still have the point by 46 points over WSR. They're having their own Red Bull kind of Mercedes run from both consistent finishes from both Rhinus Mengelis and, of course, Toby Byrne getting the win today. And then 1 point ahead of Iron Brew Racing WSR is, and then of course 1 point behind them is GTFG. So the battle for second, Toby, for the team standings is really heating up, and Mevius JSR is not too far out, as well as Forrest Vizzi. They can get something going right here. If we've seen anything from the recovery from Martinson today, it should obviously spice up for the second place standings. But unless anything crazy, Toby, I think ISR TBD might have the Constructors Championship rounded up. Even though we're halfway, there's still a few races, anything could happen, but if they keep the performance up, it's going to be tough to keep up with those ISR boys.
Yeah, ISR going into the second half of the series has a very strong foundation. And I mean, they've put in the work, I suppose. They've had 2 seasons of trawling around the midfield and the back end. And they've really put a car together, haven't they, this season? So a really good effort by ISR TBD. The new TBD partnership brought in with ISR looks like it has got off and it's hit the ground running. So be very interesting to see. But yeah, WSR higher than they've ever been in the AIC since Season 2, obviously. GTFG, highest they've ever been since Season 1. So lots of names in there. And still anything can happen because in my view, a DNF or 2 DNFs or just failing to score points like WSR today, and you saw the consequences that's had. They pulled like from 20 points to 30 points. So insane. Really good day for TBD. The main rivals didn't score any points while they won the race. Even though Rhinus Mengelis failed to, I think he scored 1 point actually. But other than that, it was a pretty calm race compared to what we've seen so far this season. Barber, unfortunately, didn't really offer the craziest overtake spots for our guys today. But we're going into Spa next time out, Zach, and we've seen plenty of scary races at Spa, haven't we? And I'm looking forward to seeing what we do there.
Yeah, and it's actually funny because F1 is actually going to Spa next week, so it's kind of fitting that we rejoin when Formula One comes back from the summer break. And so ISR at Spa, F1 at Spa should be an interesting weekend, nonetheless, for all you motorsports fans here. But it has been a calm race, but I think after whatever everybody I think can kind of deserve a bit of to kind of relax a little bit. But of course, you can't relax too hard because if you're in a title fight like most of our guys are. It's really going to be easy for them to sneak up on you when you're least expecting it. Hence, Danny Diaz today with Toby Byrne after that fantastic move that Byrne did. So, nonetheless, though, it has been an eventful season so far. But we still got a few races to go, so it ain't over until it's over. But right now, of course, things really getting spicy here. And I believe if Spa can offer anything like the last a couple races I've had, it should be a very, very exciting weeks in the Belgium.
So Byrne takes the championship lead. TBD have a massive championship lead going into the second half of the series. We'll catch you again in Spa. And as always, Spa promises to be an interesting one. So we look forward and hope you join us there. Thank you ever so much for watching. And signing off from Alabama in the USA. That's us. goodbye, and catch you next time.